and welcome to another podcast episode of Resourceful Women in Mining. Today, I'm very happy to be talking with Christy Williah, and she is here with me in Yellowknife, and we're doing a chat about northern work. Now, Christy has been in the mining industry for a couple of decades now, so I consider her deeply expert in it, and she's also fully bilingual in Tlicho, so I've asked her to share a little bit of that with us and say hi to us in Tlicho as well. Hi, Christy.
Hello, Lynnel. So, Christy Gamètì So, my name is Christy Williah, and I grew up in Gamètì, Northwest Territories, and I've also lived here in Yellowknife, and I currently live here.
It's great to have you here, and I'm so glad you're sharing your insight because you are an absolute expert in mining here in the Northwest Territories and diamond mining in particular. And that's where you got your start. So I think that's probably a good place. Your very first mining job. Can you tell us about it and where you were, how that went?
Okay, so the first time I got into the mining industry was probably when I was maybe 19 years old. I started working at the Ekati Diamond Mine, which is a remote mine site. It's a fly-in, fly-out camp. So I was flying 2 weeks in, 2 weeks out on a rotation schedule out of Yellowknife. And well, first off, I was flying out of Gamètì, and then I had relocated later to Yellowknife. So I was doing the rotation schedule that way. I started working as the process plant assistant.
And I'm smiling already, which isn't fair to anyone who's listening because I know where this story goes, and I'm looking forward to hearing Christy tell it again. So what does process plant assistant do?
So I guess the processing plant has various stages from the time the extracted ore comes into the plant, and then it goes through various stages to recover the diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like it'll come in on the conveyor belts, and then it'll go through like different machinery, the scrubbing, screening process. Then at the end of it, you get the diamonds.
That's awesome. And so your job there, I'm going to spoil it a little bit. You had a very physical job.
Yes, so it was
a tiny 19-year-old woman.
So it was probably 100 pounds at that time, maybe 90. So I did a lot of hosing. So I hosed down the plant. I shoveled all the material onto the conveyor belt. So it was a lot of physical work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you get like biceps and like strong shoulders, and is it like working out all day?
Yes, it's a lot of work. I actually had to use the wheelbarrow as well in the plant, where I had to like put all the mud in and then dump it at the sump pump there. So yeah, it was a lot of strenuous work.
That's good. And I know that you knew a lot of people there already before you even went to work there. And did you say it was friends or cousins who were there at the same time?
Well, I knew of like people from like our Tlicho community, so from Bishopcombe, Wati, Wikwiti, Gamètì, and just like in the north. So there was people that I knew that were working there. So.
And did that make it easier or harder for you to get going in your job?
I think it was easier because a couple of them that I worked with on my crew were from the Tlicho community. So they helped guide me and spoke to me in my language as well to kind of support me that way. So
that's awesome. And when you decided I'm going to go work at the mine, what was your thought process? What were you going for with that?
Well, I wanted to know what the mine life was all about. and it was a learning experience. I was young and eager, and because, it's a small remote community of maybe about 250 people in Gamètì. So I was kind of looking forward to going to the Mindsite. I've heard a lot of good things about the Mindsite. So that really interested me.
So a lot of curiosity.
Yes.
A lot of wanting to, it sounds like you wanted to be very grown and get your job and get doing stuff. Yeah. And when you got there, how did it compare to what you imagined it would be?
Well, the camp life was, I guess it was not something that I imagined. Like it was like a big community in itself. They had their own like restaurant area, and they had like the gym and all the fitness facilities, and they had a sauna. So they had a lot of things that you can do there. So it was like a big community there.
So if you worked hard all day, did you go to the gym, or were you just like ready to tip over and be asleep?
Oh, I didn't exercise at all, because my work involved a lot of exercising, a lot of physical activities. So I didn't do any of that stuff.
You were ready for a rest.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, especially when I think about the early days, because I know that, well, I mean, compared to the struggle that the diamond mines are having today, compared to the absolute heyday that it was when it started out, like it was a really big deal when it came here to the territory. How long would Ekati have been operating before you started working there?
Oh, maybe several years. So I'm several years, I would say. It had started. They were like they were heavily involved in doing community visits at that time.
Okay.
So that's how I was interviewed.
Oh, they came to you?
Yeah, they came to me. They came looking to hire local people, and then I went to visit them, and they interviewed me. So so after the process plant, work in a process plant for a while, I wanted to try something new, and thought maybe waste management would be less strenuous, I guess.
Yeah.
So there was an opportunity there for a waste management technician trainee position, and I told them that I was interested, and I applied for it, and I was selected.
I know there's a little part of the story I haven't heard yet. Do you want to tell the wheelbarrow part?
Oh, the wheelbarrow part. So at the process plant, while I was there, so I had to, so the sump pump has railings on both sides and then the front. So it's kind of like a sump pump. I'm not sure if you're familiar with a sump pump, but that's where they dump all the sludge and the mud and the wet stuff. Yeah. And so if you're hosing the whole plant, that's kind of where it drains. So so when it gets plugged, the bobcat would drive in there and kind of loosen things up and so forth, or dump things there. So I was shoveling some, mud and all that stuff, the wet stuff, and I put it all in my wheelbarrow, and I figured that, first of all, I overfilled it. It was very heavy. And I know, so I checked, and it was very heavy. I could barely lift it. So I did move towards the sump pump, and as I was maybe like 20 feet, I figured, okay, if I run a little bit and I lift it right onto the railings, and it will all fall off. So I did that. I ran, and but I couldn't lift it at all. It was so heavy that the wheelbarrow literally slid right under the railing and into the sump pump. So now my wheelbarrow was sinking, and all I can hear is the control room technician saying, "Christy, is everything okay?" And everybody else was like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And I was like, "Shh, please don't say anything on the radio.
Just let me get my wheelbarrow back." Yeah. I just want to quietly get my wheelbarrow back. I love that because the thought process is so good, and you definitely got momentum working for you, but then it turned on you and took your wheelbarrow. I love that part. So then you had to do a little digging and you got it out and
Yes.
everything was solved.
Yeah,
So when you got to
so-
leave that wheelbarrow behind, you did retrieve it. I know that part of the
Yes.
story. I love the part about don't put it on the radio. This doesn't have to be on the radio.
No.
We don't need to. I don't need to tell everybody that I shot the wheelbarrow into the pump. But I love that because it's such a, you know, you have to get over it. You have to take new approaches to it when you're not like a 6 foot tall man who can lift
Yeah.
it with one hand.
And I've used wheelbarrows before, like in Gamètì, so I figured, oh yeah, this is, this will be a breeze, but
just need
but
to
the
take
weight,
a run.
yeah, it's a little different.
When it's filled with wet, sludgy mud. Yeah. And I love that you decided, I'm not going to unshovel what I already shoveled in there. I'm going to go with it. So, thank you. When you told me that story the first time, I was like, oh, I love that story. So inventive. It went so wrong, but it was a really good try. So you moved away from that. You went in the waste management technician, and then you did the training. And how was that next job?
Waste management is where I guess they do the collection and disposal of all the waste products on site.
Mhm.
So I was operating the incinerator. So I would collect all the aerosol cans around camp and the oily rags. I would puncture them before I would incinerate those aerosol cans, or
Mhm.
else they'll
So you're not exploding
explode.
things, yeah.
And so I got my site license first, so that I was able to drive around site. I had never driven a vehicle before.
You don't really need to in Gamètì. Hey, where are you gonna go? There's no road.
Yeah.
It's just town. So yeah.
Walking distance to
Everything's
everything.
yeah, the walkability score, like on the realty sites, walkability is 100. Yeah, there's no option. That's an interesting thing too. I think that's still, I think that's still something for people who are coming from
Mhm.
communities to work in mines. Is
Yeah.
that, if you don't need to drive, why are you going to get a license? Like, first of all, what are you going to practice in? Where are you going to practice? How are you going to practice? You're going to
Yeah.
buy a truck for no reason? No.
Yeah, so that's where I learned how to drive, was at the mine site.
Awesome.
And then so the waste management technician was training me. So I did that for maybe another few months.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, I want to try something else, because I was, I was young and wanting to learn, and I still at that point didn't know exactly what I wanted to do as a career.
Yeah.
So there was an opportunity that came up. It was, to be a diamond sorter at that Ekati mine site. So I applied, and I got the job. So I was working with a technician who trained me and mentored me
Okay.
to sort diamonds.
We've known each other for quite a while now, and I didn't know that you sorted diamonds.
I did.
You must be the best person to shop for jewelry with. Be like, not that one. No, that one. Yes, yes, that one.
The big one. Big
Bigger.
shiny one.
Go bigger. That's excellent. So you got to see all the raw diamonds.
Yes.
That is very cool.
Yes.
And I know Ekati is famous for its Yellowstones. So it's fancy yellow. So how many of those do you think you've
I
gotten your
haven't gotten a
eyeballs on?
clue. Like, we were sorting diamonds a lot.
All day?
All day.
Yeah.
All day for 12-hour shifts. So we would sit there, very, very highly secured
Yes.
area. So there's only me and the technician together for 12 hours sorting diamonds,
Yeah.
having them go through the sorting machine. I can't remember what it's called.
An X-ray something.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
like
how do you, I know that it's because it's very secured, you have to secure in and secure out. So you would do that twice a day? Like, did they have a whole facility for you, or were you like in and out, to go have lunch and to
No,
go to the
so we
bathroom or
were,
anything
so
like
we
that?
were, there was a washroom in that
Okay.
area, but
So
it's,
self-contained.
yeah, so it
Okay.
is like you go through this bodily search area where you have different options of search. So you press a button. It's like a random search, right?
Oh, okay.
So some of it's
Like a
pat down.
Price of Right.
Yeah.
Price is Right wheel.
Yes. So different random searches, bodily searches. So once we go in there, then we don't leave until our whole shift is done. And there's just that one sorting area and then the x-ray machine area and then the washrooms. That's all that is. So we don't go in and out of that area.
So you'd have to have like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks all with you for the whole day.
Yes.
Okay. That's a really interesting.
Supper, yeah, supper we would leave because that's when we were
At the end.
done.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be your whole day. You just got to sort diamonds all day long. So what did you look for?
So we had to use all the microscopes and because I was being trained, I wasn't really sure what to look for. So she had to tell me what exactly to look for and then to sort them, and then she would kind of look them over twice.
And look at so she'd show you how to sort.
But I knew what the rocks
she would
were.
check it.
Yeah. So the rocks,
by then it
like
should
the
all
minerals.
be,
Yeah.
By then it was all diamonds, right?
Yes.
Like there was no waste, there was nothing. It was all just different quality and sizes of diamonds. Yeah. Okay. And if you spend that much time with diamonds, are you still excited when you find like a big fancy yellow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think I would be, but I've never sorted diamonds for hours on end. Oh, that's so fascinating. So you get the big ones, and I've seen, the natural stones, and they're quite fascinating. Like they're all different, and then to see how they turn out once they get cut and polished is wild. So you sorted diamonds, and you probably sorted thousands of diamonds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I did that for another few months. And after that, there was there was another opportunity that came up. This time it was more because those positions that I had were all temporary or term positions.
Okay.
So a full-time position came up to be a haul truck driver. So that meant I would have to relocate to Yellowknife.
Okay.
From Gamètì. So I permanently relocated at that time.
What was the reason for that?
Because we had a simulator training here.
Okay.
And
gotcha.
Yeah, so there was a simulator training here, so moved here. But just before the start of the simulator training, the trainer had resigned. So we didn't have no trainer. So that was kind of put on hold.
Scourge.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
So that was kind of put on hold for a couple of months. So while I was waiting for a couple of months for that to start up, an opportunity came up to work with I&D management. That's a human resources company.
Okay.
Here in Yellowknife. So an opportunity came up. I knew the people there, so I ended up starting with them as a HR in human resources.
So no 777s for Christy.
No 777s.
Oh, could have driven a sideways apartment building. Well, I think you're very well suited for where you are. So when you took that turn career-wise and you got into looking at HR, how was that for you?
Well, after I think a few months of working, so I worked as like the finance clerk there, and
so it wasn't HR yet then.
Yeah, so
that was a finance.
Yes.
Okay.
So I worked in finance, and then and then moved into HR and the benefits administration. So after I did that for a few months, that's when I realized this is exactly what I want to do. And that's when my passion for HR began.
That was it for you? That's great. And I mean, I know everyone here is very fortunate. So your role now is working directly in the programming and with employees directly and really looking at that employee relations piece of it. And I know that you do an amazing job of it. What Christy doesn't know is what it looks like from the outside. When someone comes into the office and they want to talk with anyone about anything and Christy greets them in Tlicho, I see everything change. Like it's so great when I see you able to talk with Tlicho people in Tlicho. It changes everything. And I think it's so amazing that you get to do that, for yourself, because I'm sure it's rewarding, but for them as well, to have someone who is so fluent and understands them so well, grew up where they grew up. And I think it's great. So that transition, like you got a really great start in mining. And I think that probably still is to your benefit. You know about the jobs that you're talking about. You've done that work. You've lifted very heavy things and got blown around by the hoses and all the rest of it. Like, you know what you're talking about because you've lived that. And I see that, anyone who talks with you just relates with you so easily in Tlicho and in English. I mean, you're such a people person. I think obviously you found your way to working with people. And it's absolutely just amazing to see the effect that has. So if we go back in time to being able to speak Tlicho, what did it mean for you to be able to speak Tlicho with other people when you were at site?
Well, it made me feel like I was at home.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of people I knew from our Tlicho region. So, and it also helped with, I guess, translating, some of the guys that I worked with. If they didn't understand something, I would kind of translate that in English. So a lot of in our language, there's not words for specific things. So we have to be descriptive, kind of describe what things are. So I think that kind of connected me with people there.
And there's a theme too of how do you connect with people, right? Like, you're friendly, you're up for learning, you're up for sharing the learning, you're ready to talk with people, and that piece of the connection, I think it's kind of bigger than the job, because in the Tlicho region, not everyone speaks Tlicho. Like, the young people don't speak Tlicho as fluently as you do if they're speaking it. So there's kind of a revival. I know that the Tlicho government, which isn't, that's not your employer, you work for the investment corporation portion, the business portion of it, but I do see the connection in language. And having lived in other places, when you don't know the language of the operation, like whatever it is. When I was in a Spanish speaking place, I did not know the Spanish speaking and the way and everything else, and you don't really get a gut sense of what it's like to not speak the language until you're somewhere where you don't speak the language and you're struggling to understand, basic things like food and processes and all the rest of it. So that language piece is a real connector, and I think it's like an empathy builder as well. And that's part of your story that I feel.
Yeah, and I'm very, blessed and fortunate to know like my Tlicho language through my grandparents who raised me in Gamètì. And also working here as a Tlicho person, like I love all the new people that come here to work with us, and I'm able to share who we are as Tlicho people and our way of life and our traditional way of life. Like I want them to know who we are.
Yeah. And I just think it's so great that you have been able to do all of those jobs. You've taken it directly into your work in HR. So generally, if we kind of back out and look at it, the mining was key in your life in getting you employed, looking at different kinds of jobs. So it was sort of like you got to sample that mining life as well. And it led to other things. And one thing that I always hope people keep in mind is that the mining industry isn't limited to the mine site itself. Like we're here in Yellowknife, and the support and the involvement that we have in the mining industry here is, yes, some of the companies have direct work at the mine sites, but there are so many other implications and consequences of having the mines operating. So all of the HR functions, the finance functions, anything that doesn't happen at site, those jobs are really accessible in local ways as well. So if we consider the mine site remote, yeah, there are all of those jobs, but also the industry around the mining industry is huge. And the ability to be able to transition back and forth between the mining industry and the companies that support it, like contractors and all of those other things. I think that it's a lot bigger industry for women than we think of initially. So we say like, hey, young woman, are you interested in going into mining? It's like, I don't know if I want to live that far away, right? But right now, you don't live far away. You're still involved in the mining industry, but you're not traveling. You're not doing fly in, fly out anymore. You're doing a lot of things. So I'm hoping that anyone who's listening realizes the scope of the mining industry beyond the mine site itself.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of opportunity there for young people in general, especially young women. And when the mining companies are looking to, get that gender balance in what they're doing, I think it's important. And I love that you get to share all of those things with the people who are listening, and that look that you have. So in your work right now, you've shared a lot of what you really enjoy about it. So if we go to some of the challenges, what are some of the challenges that you think or that you see for women working in the mining industry or in those adjacent industries that we talked about?
I think some of the challenges would be when some jobs are dominated by men, or is more male dominated, and maybe also would be the language challenges, the language barrier, the communication barrier. Might be a challenge for some people, like from living in the communities to going into the mine sites, and because you're not familiar with a lot of things, right? In the mining industry.
So that reminds me, or that makes my thinking turn to, did you feel safe when you went to work in the mine? Like, did you feel protected by the processes and physically safe and otherwise safe when you went there?
Yeah, so they had an orientation for all new people. So there they talked about, all the policies that they have, like the workplace harassment, discrimination, and all the safety procedures and everything else. So I felt safe. I felt safe. The camp was safe. So there's a lot of dorms in that camp. So they would put like the woman in one dorm, and then the men in the, another dorm to kind of keep it consistent.
Yeah. So
I felt safe.
Yeah, that's great. I've not worked directly on a site, and so I'm always curious about that, because I'm like, to me, it's sort of the closest thing I have is like university dorm life, where it's like, okay, there's the girls' wing, there's the boys' wing, and back when you're still a kid, it is the girls and the boys, but as you're working, it becomes like the men's and the women's. And how many women were there approximately? I don't expect you to remember the detailed stats, but women and men, how many?
Oh, I can't even recall, but in our crew, like in our process plant crews, there was two of us there, two women there. So, and there was probably 7 men that we worked with. So there was quite a bit of us.
Yeah.
working together.
And in the other jobs, and just generally, like when you go to supper into the cafeteria, how many, like,
There was more men.
or definitely more
at that time.
Yeah.
There was more men, less women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were there for, it sounds like maybe 2-3 years.
I was there for maybe a year to a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were busy.
I was busy.
You were very busy.
I was very busy. I loved it there. It was amazing, and the food was good. I remember the lobster nights and the steak nights. I don't know if they have them still, but the food was amazing.
Yeah.
So, and they would only have that on special occasions, so it wasn't like every week, right? So,
yeah. And I know too, with those operations, they're 24/7, 365. So there would be, I think they do like a special Christmas meal, and they would have ones, and they would really put a lot of effort in. So now that you're on the HR side of it and you look at those numbers and you look at those stats, do you see more women
now,
Yeah.
currently, I see more women from the time that I had started, for
Yeah.
sure. I see more women in trades now. I see more women in operating equipment. They're operators now, and yeah, so I see more women when I do visit at the camp.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. And do you think that with the way families usually operate, I'm going to start it that way, do you think that it's possible to have even more women? Like, do you think the numbers can keep increasing and get like a little closer to that gender balance?
Maybe, perhaps.
Yeah. I think I land in the same place as you. I was doing some reading the other day, and I was looking at stats because I like to. And it said that it would have to be at home, that it's not reasonable to expect that we can get to gender equity in a society that doesn't have like a really balanced view of gender when it comes to domestic work. So that's something that I'm always fascinated by.
Interesting.
Yeah, because somehow, and I've said this before, and anyone who's listened will know that when I last checked, it was still the women who were having the babies. If a family wanted to be a family, it still comes down to the woman, right? And I think that just continues to carry over. So I find that aspect of it really fascinating, and some of the, how all the domestic work tends to still in our day and age with falls to mom or the woman, or all, and I think any effort that we make to have that be more balanced at home, I think that will support a more gender balanced workforce in every way. So yeah, that's great. Is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners about being in mining or being a woman in mining, where you see it going, or the benefits that you see?
Well, for, I guess, young women that want to go into mining, I think that I would encourage them if that's what they want to do. If you want to go into mining, it's a learning experience, and so I think that it might be scary at first, coming from a little community like Gamètì. But it's exciting, lots of opportunities for growth. So it's great if young women would want to work at the mine.
You have the energy and the curiosity, and you're looking for opportunity. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm curious too, like once family life settles down for families, I think there's a lot of opportunity for women who have older kids as well, to be able to support that fly in, fly out kind of thing, and to be able to have those arrangements. So I've heard a few stories, not an overwhelming number of stories, but I've heard a few stories of women who, once their kids are sort of into the school groove, that they've really enjoyed the 2 and 2, because they get all the work time is really condensed, and then they get their 2 weeks where they can be fully available for family, and then they keep switching it that way. And I've heard a lot of people really enjoy that aspect of it as well. So I am so thankful that you've had this chat, and I love to hear your stories. I'm still chuckling that I didn't know you sorted diamonds. You got to play with diamonds all day, and I didn't know that yet. We've talked about a lot of other things, but we haven't talked about diamonds specifically. So that's great. I will thank you very much. And I know that anyone listening will enjoy that peek into the world of diamonds. So thank
Merci,
you.
Lynnel. Thank
Merci,
you.
Christy. Resourceful Women is a product of the Prospector News. Opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the speaker and speaker alone. Resourceful Women is for educational and entertainment purposes, and nothing in the podcast should be taken as investment advice. Always consult with a licensed personal financial advisor before making any investment purchases.